Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of Leading in the Moment. Today, we are joined by Scott Smith. He is the CEO of Valley Metro. Scott, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And Scott, a very familiar face in leadership here in the community, former Mesa mayor, and now, really putting that leadership experience to good use, because what we were talking about is so many businesses and organizations have had to adjust and adapt recently. A lot of business organizations adjusting just to stay alive and keep things afloat. And then there are the businesses too that are stepping up and really committing themselves to providing our community what we need right now. So I want to talk about Valley Metro, public transportation, what you have done recently, again, keeping riders safe, but also contributing back to the community.
Well, thanks. And it's true that what this crisis did is it caused us to really focus on why we're here. At the end of the day, our basic mantra is we're here to connect communities and enhance lives. We realized that as people were staying home and as other people were having to still get around, that we played we meaning public transportation, play a critical role in keeping our community together. And so we decided as a leadership team and an overall workforce that we were going to do whatever it took to keep our service on the street. We recognized that there were a lot of people that depend on public transportation to get to critical jobs. I even had a couple of hospital executives who said, please, don't shut down. We need you. We have a lot of workers at our hospitals and our caregivers, things like that rely on you. So we've been committed from day one to stay in business, so to speak, not from a financial standpoint, but from a service standpoint.
So when you hear that, we need you, but then you also know that we need to keep people safe. So what adjustments have been made? What are you guys doing to keep the riders safe when they do take public transportation?
Well, that was the first big question. It's easy enough to say that we're going to keep buses and trains and paratransit out there, but the big question was, in order to do that, you depend on people. First of all, we depend upon our frontline people, the operators, drivers, the mechanics, those that make us able to put those things on the street. How do we keep them safe? Because if they can't show up for work and if they're at risk, then nothing else matters. And so we took a lot of steps early on. We hand out as many protective devices as we could. We worked with our contractors. We actually changed the way that people board buses. We went to a rear boarding, and the reason we did that is that when you enter a bus through the front door to pay your fare, you're in close contact with the operator. So we moved all our boardings to the rear door, meaning that we basically gave up the revenue collection because there's no way to pay your revenue. The other thing we did is we physically separated as best we could the space between the riding public and the riders, the operators. Then what we've done is that we've gone to try to limit our number of passengers so that we can maintain social distancing. So we've empowered our operators to look at the bus and to say, if things get about 10 passengers, we might not be able to maintain that. And so we may not want to put more people on the bus. So they're empowered to make that judgment call so that they can make sure that we don't, by providing that transportation, put people in a place where they have to stand nose to nose with somebody else. Now, just recently, what we've done is follow the CDC suggestions, which is to strongly suggest that our riders wear masks. It's not a requirement yet, but we're really putting out the education out there to make sure that they are protected. So protecting our mechanics, protecting our operators and our riders, and on the support staff, about 95% of our staff, which are telecommuting. I've been on more WebEx meetings and Zoom meetings than I want to over the last 2 weeks, and we're going to continue that until we're done. So we've responded like many businesses and organizations have, maintaining our ability to keep those buses and trains on the road while maintaining a level of safety for our employees and our riders.
I want to take you back to what you were just saying about those hospital administrators saying, "Hey, please, continue service. We need you." And we were just talking about this sort of this shift in, identifying our local heroes. We're looking at grocery store workers, and especially in the public transportation field. What has that been like to understand that gratitude? Now, again, we've talked about this, you've kind of been taken for granted for a while.
Yeah.
Now we need you.
I think one of the good things that may come out of this is a renewed appreciation for the day-to-day worker. We have long known that our operators and our technical people are key to our operations. Now that's just been emphasized and overemphasized, and it can't be emphasized too much. We recognize that the most important people are the people who are there on the front lines, and I am appreciative of everyone, every person that literally now is putting their life on the line, and that's not overhyping it. And yet they keep showing up. We monitor every day the number of our workers that call out, that don't come in, and it's held steady. We have not had a problem with people not showing up. They show up. We offer them the kind of protection that we think is needed. They're appreciative of that, and we are more than appreciative of everything that they do for us. And I hope, you can only hope that this continues after this is over, because it's going to be over. Yeah. I hope we look at that grocery stalker and the checkout person and the bus driver and the rail driver, and recognize how important they are in our lives.
Absolutely. And talk about what you guys have also done to go above and beyond and get the community, especially some of our underserved population, some of the goods and services that they desperately need that they probably wouldn't have been able to access if it weren't for you.
Well, one of the things we did is that we committed early on that we would maintain as full of a service as we can. We didn't care if there were 2 people on a bus or 20 people on a bus. We were going to go to that place. This was not an economic decision that said, oh, there's not enough riders on that route, because we knew that if there were 2 riders on that route, it was most likely somebody who was needed somewhere, and they needed to get somewhere, and somebody needed them to show up. So all of our decisions have just been based on what can we possibly put out there. We continue to, on the paratransit side, for example, these are the people who are most vulnerable in our community. We continue to have drivers who go pick up those that might be in a wheelchair, that might be headed to dialysis or to a critical appointment. And what we've done is, for example, we used to take multiple riders in a ride. Well, now we only do 1 rider maximum. So our ridership is down. It's down over 50%, but we don't care right now, because we recognize that those are important riders and they're essential workers. And so that's what we've done, is just by staying and covering as much of our territory as we can, as frequently as we can, we feel we're working to provide a service for the community.
Well, Scott, you've been a leader in this community for a long time now, and I wanted to get your thoughts and perspective on, you just said this will be over. It's not over yet, but it will be over. How the community has come together, what have you seen, and what are your thoughts on our response?
Well, so far, I will tell you this. I think some of the things that'll continue on, I think we're all going to be washing our hands a lot more often, even after it's over. I know that for example, we clean down our equipment at least daily, if not more often than that. I think we're going to continue that kind of diligence in making things are clean and they're working right. I also, having been somebody who was in the arena, so to speak, as a mayor, I have a respect for those who are in a decision-making position. It's real easy to take pot shots at our mayors and governors and presidents and everything. It's simple. I remember what it was like being in that chair, and I can tell you that there's not a decision that's made at any of those levels that is easy, because you recognize that you are impacting people's lives. While you may be creating distancing by shutting down businesses, you recognize that you're hurting the person that owns that business, that needs that paycheck, and you try to consider the alternatives and make the best decision you can. And so I hope that we spend less time second guessing and criticizing and more time supporting whatever the leader is, recognizing they're doing the best they can, I think, with the information they have. That's one thing that I wish would come out of this. There'll be plenty of time in the aftermath to go back and look and see what we did right, what we did wrong, what we should do differently next time. I've also really appreciated that the majority of the community is taking this seriously, and they're doing the best they can to practice without being mandated things that are safe for all of us: the distancing, the staying at home as much as possible. And one thing that I really enjoy is when I do go out, and I've tried to support our local restaurants as much as possible, is to see how many people are still supporting that takeout. And I'm hoping, and what I've seen is that there aren't a whole lot of 5% tips. There's a lot of 25 and 30 and 50% tips, as people recognize that there are those that are hurting, while those of us who can stay home are staying home. There are those that aren't. And this renewed appreciation that we talked about earlier, I think, is extending on to where people are doing their best to help those that economically are suffering through this, because I hope that those people aren't just collateral damage in this whole deal. So, I look at our leadership. I don't envy them for being in the position of having to make tough decisions. I'm glad we have leaders that are willing to make tough decisions, and I'm glad we have citizens that are willing to do what they can to make a bad situation good.
Well, Scott, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. Thank you for everything you're doing over at Valley Metro right now, trying to keep us safe and keep everything going. Again, and thank you too for all your years of service here as a mayor in the Valley. And just again, I think you said it. We're going to come out of this. We're not out of it yet, but we can all do our part to help out each other.
Well, thanks so much, and thanks so much for talking and for raising the awareness of these issues. Yeah, we're planning for the recovery right now. We're going to get out of it. We're going to recover, and we're going to get back to as much normality as we possibly can, whatever that will be. So thank you.
All right, Scott. Thank you so much.
Yeah, take care.